Hello everyone, and this is my review for Monday Night Raw on September the 5th, 2016, and well, what can I say about this Raw? Well, I'll talk about mostly the middle stuff right off the bat because, that's kind of where everything went, so I'm going to try to end it on a high note on everything. So, like the first hour, really good. I enjoyed the first hour. It was that, and the end was fine. It was that middle portion that was kind of, what's going on? Crowd died during this moment and everything, and it's like, what's really going on with this show? And that happened somewhere around the Sheamus Cesaro match, and kind of at the end of that one. You had about an hour and a half where like the crowd was just like continually dying throughout the entire thing. Didn't really give much of it of anything to any of the stuff that was going on outside of a couple of other areas. So let's go right into it. First of all, we had three squash matches, but you had the Braun Strowman segment, Nia Jax, and Bo Dallas. Well, oddly enough, who was doing a match against a local guy, and he now has one of those political signs that says "Believe in Bo," and he also is bringing out a little bit more of a mean streak in his style. So we'll see what they're doing with Bo Dallas in this one, especially after the whole aspect of what happened with him with the airplane incident and everything in that sense, with the intoxication. It doesn't look like it's going to affect him in any way on the show, so like I said, we'll see where they go with everything. Nia Jax went up against a local person where the storyline is probably not false by any stretch, that she was a friend of Alicia Fox's, and Nia destroys her really quickly in that sense, which led to a backstage segment where you have Alicia Fox coming out of the trainer's room, and you have a pretty heated promo from Alicia Fox and Nia Jax. Actually, pretty good promo, decent promo from them to go along with it. So it looks like they're going to be using Alicia Fox, and they're going to be kind of having that be the first semi-program for Nia Jax. Is going to be up against Alicia Fox, so we'll see how that one ends out going. Braun Strowman went up against Sin Cara. First of all, they did a backstage promo with Sin Cara, and I liked the whole aspect of why does he decide to challenge Braun Strowman? Because he wants to protect the heritage of Lucha Libre for what happened the week before with removing the Lucha mask. So very good story on why or very good reasoning and decent storytelling on why Sin Cara wants this match. Braun Strowman was kind of... this was one of those first times that they basically had offense against him in any way. Sin Cara was able to counter some stuff and everything in there. The weird thing about this match was that they had it end in countout. I'm guessing that they're planning on continuing this feud, especially with Braun attacking Sin Cara and laying him out after the match. But it doesn't make Strowman look all that strong with him just like sneaking into the ring and winning by countout in any way, shape, or form. It looked a little bit weird in that sense and everything. So that was pretty much the squash match side of the entire show. You also had Cesaro going up against Sheamus with the best of seven still going on. They were playing up the back injury throughout the entire match. For the most part of it, they started off with Cesaro starting off hot with getting most of the offense in, and then Sheamus targets the back and pretty much dominates the rest of the match, making it a quick match in the end, which is honestly, if you're playing off of a back injury, best way of going is actually making the match rather quick in the end for that. And now they have Sheamus up 3-0, so they're going to start probably the comeback for Cesaro actually with the Wednesday match, because they announced that they're going to have one of the best of seven matches at the O2 in England for O2 out there in the England area for the best of seven. So more likely they start there. They'll start it off TV, and then they'll probably continue it into TV the next week. So we'll see how they play off of everything and how much they play off that back injury throughout the rest of the matches as well. More than likely this ends at the Clash. By the way, Clash of Champions, I'm probably going to just I'm just going to be calling it the Clash every single time. So we'll see how this best of seven goes up and everything, and we'll see where everything goes along with it. You had a couple of interesting ones here. And by interesting ones, they were semi-funny, semi-cringeworthy. Actually, very cringeworthy in some areas. You had Enzo and Cass going up against the Shining Stars. The promo beforehand from Enzo and Cass, it was delivered well from both sides. But they pretend, like, since it was Labor Day, like, they had Enzo pretend he was going into labor and giving birth or something in that sense. It's like, okay, they're going this route with it. And then they did something even more interesting. They had the Shining Stars win. And first thought process when that one went down was, please don't let this be like the beginning of Enzo and Cass breaking up. I doubt that's where they're going. They're trying to probably build the Shining Stars up a little bit more in this case, and having a win over Enzo and Cass would probably do that for them in this case. So, like I said, I don't think Enzo and Cass would be splitting them off, though. I would say Big Cass looked pretty good and looked like he belonged inside that Universal title match the week before, but still, I don't think this team's done for yet in any way, shape, or form. They still have too much that they can do with these guys. You also had Gallows and Anderson. And again, with a segment that was semi-funny, but very cringeworthy to go along with it. You had them talking about how they're starting up the retirement business, and they're going to retire the New Day from the tag team titles and everything like that. So they go out there, and when they cut their promo, they have the old day come out. So people mocking the New Day. Actually pretty good with the Big E intro. How they have it, like slower talk and slower walk and everything like that. Like I said, there was a little bit of funny here. A little bit of cringeworthy. New Day does eventually come out and and Gallows and Anderson dispatch and leave after the promo, and so they're kind of just messing around with the guys who were dressed up as old people and everything like that. And of course they play it off as one of them tried to hit Big E, and they lay out the old day. Like I said, they were pretty much trying to make work with what they were given on this one. This was, like I said, semi-funny. There were semi-funny moments, but it was a very cringe-worthy type segment. I was not the biggest fan of this segment in any way, shape, or form. I also continue, but going off of that, it's like one of my things I should also say in there. They also announced a tag team title match for the Clash to go along with it there. So you are going to have Gallows and Anderson versus the New Day at the Clash. So we'll see if they finally put the belts on Gallows and Anderson, or if they decide to keep it on the New Day in this case. You also have Jinder Mahal going up against Darren Young. Titus O'Neil on commentary, doing a lot better with the aspect of being on commentary than what happened a couple weeks ago with the mic work. They're continuing on with this feud between Titus and Darren and Bob Backlund and everything like that. They have a brawl after the match with Darren Young and Jinder Mahal. Titus even tried to cause not disqualification, but a distraction, but Darren Young still ends out winning the match in the end. And then they eventually brawl when Titus was going after Bob Backlund. I know not a lot of people are really caring about this storyline, but credit where credit's due. They're at least giving them a chance to try to get people to care and to go along with it. It's not like, oh, no one's caring about this, so no one's caring about this after like 3 weeks, so let's just get rid of it. They're at least attempting it, and maybe they'll actually at least finish it, even if people don't really end up caring in the end to go along with it. So that was pretty much what happened in that middle section of the show. Like I said, the down point in some cases. Like I said, there were some good moments, and I like the storytelling that they're going with Cesaro and Sheamus and everything, but a lot of just like the crowd, you could just tell throughout that entire time, goes dead. They did not have almost any interest during that time period, especially after Cesaro and Sheamus. But let's go into that first hour time frame, which I thought was really good. I thought they did a really good job inside of here, setting up everything throughout the rest of the night in the terms of at least main event and everything to go along with it. You had a confrontation between Mick Foley and Stephanie McMahon beforehand backstage where, like both impassioned in their speeches, Mick saying it's like what was going on, why did this happen, why was Steph not returning the phone calls, the text, or anything in that sense. And Stephanie, still firmly saying she had nothing to do with this, nothing to do with this. And the way that Stephanie's coming off is like, yeah, she had nothing to do with this. And it still can't say down the road that they will be, that they won't have her involved in this in some way, shape, or form, that she knew the entire time. But the interesting thing about this week is that you got nothing from Triple H. He doesn't show up at all or anything like that throughout the entire show. But that confrontation between Stephanie and Mick Foley I thought was really good. Right at the beginning of the show. That was backstage. They go out there for the celebration for Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens comes out there and talking up how he at least had done 98% of the work, and Triple H helped out at the end. So he even admits that Triple H ends out helping out there. Like, not typically how a heel would go about everything, but the one great thing about Kevin Owens in this one, and he did a great job of healing it up. The fans this week, just like last week, were chanting, "You deserve it, you deserve it," the entire time. He chastises the fans and says that the fans are trying to make it about themselves and not about him with his moment because they're chanting that chant at him. Absolute gold. Absolute gold. I love the promo from Kevin Owens, especially that portion of it. I thought it came off really good. Seth Rollins comes out to go along with it. He starts chastising mainly at Stephanie and going off on Mick and Kevin to go along with it. Very good promo from him. Like I like the aspect of the anger. He conveyed the anger that he needed to convey in this one. They start and then Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins brawl, and it looks like Seth's gonna get suspended, but no. Stephanie wants to suspend Seth, but then Mick's like, no, I want to make a match for the two of them at the Clash, and for the Universal title and everything like that. So it kind of escalates quickly. It's like, nah, Seth Rollins is getting suspended. No, you're getting a title match within about a span of 10 seconds. That's kind of how that went. But pretty good segment. I thoroughly enjoyed that. You also had another backstage setup between with Mick and Stephanie talking about what had just happened. Kevin Owens and Jericho interrupt them, start chastising them and everything like that. I like how Mick and Stephanie are, even though they were at odds with each other a few moments ago, start backing each other up in this one. So they're playing it off that Steph's still playing the babyface and everything in the situation. It came off really well. I thoroughly enjoyed where they were going with it. But in the end, it's like, oh yeah, Mick's going to be making the matches throughout the entire thing. That was like the main authority of Mick, was that he makes matches throughout the entire show. So he ends up making Jericho go up against Rollins, and Owens goes up against Sami Zayn throughout the for the night. So good segment again backstage. Like, these three segments, really good. I thoroughly enjoyed. The next one, which was the first match of the night, Bayley and Charlotte, I thought was also a good one to go along with it. Not one of their longest affairs that they went out there, but good storytelling with what they were going for in the match. You had a bit where they were showing that Charlotte wants Dana Brooke to just take notes throughout the entire match. They showed that during the pre-show, and they showed it here before the match. They play up a knee injury for Bayley throughout the entire thing. Eventually, it happens early on, and eventually Charlotte targets the knee, and Bayley sells it throughout the entire time. Both of them worked really well in the ring together. I can't really say anything bad about this match. They did a good job. The only thing about it is that it makes you feel like they're hot-shotting Bayley into the title picture at this time. And you know how I feel about the character. I'm a fan of the character, first of all. I'm actually a fan of that character and the factor of the matches that have gone on with the Bayley character to go along with it. it's like one of those things, like she needs to go through adversity at some point in time. They're giving her the whole aspect of, yeah, she pins the women's champion and everything in that sense. So it's like, okay, she has to get a title match at some point in time, and that's what they kind of making you feel like throughout the entire show. And then at the end, close to the end of the show, I'll skip ahead before going into the Rollins and Jericho match, because you had a couple other segments. You had, Dana Brooke backstage talking with Charlotte, saying she'll do better. Charlotte's chastising her the entire time, and ends up slapping her. And also, I like the aspect of, because Bayley's supposed to come off as like a childlike character almost in there. She calls her the Sesame Street person throughout the entire time. That's just good heel heat right there. That's just good heel heat to keep chastising your opponent, even though they just beat you and everything in that sense. And they, like I said, they made it feel like, okay, Bayley's going to be the one going off and having a match with Charlotte sometime in the very near future for the title. Because when Sasha Banks comes out, they were teasing it throughout the entire night that she has bad news and everything like that. So they're making you feel like she's going to come out and announce that the injury's worse or something like that, or almost even making you feel like that she's going to go away for good in some way, shape, or form. And the way that she performs during that segment of it was making it even feel like, okay, that's where they're going. She's either saying that her injury's even worse and she has to have surgery, or B, she's not going to be allowed to wrestle anymore, or something in that sense. Like, she plays it up really well in this case. And then she gets interrupted by Dana Brooke, and it looks like Dana's going to attack her, and you're thinking at the time, I was like, okay, this isn't really fair. She's injured and everything like that. No, Banks' statement, and the bad news was not for the fans or for Sasha or anything like that. The bad news was for Charlotte, that they have a match at the Clash. I actually liked this segment. I liked that promo segment. It was probably one of the better promos that Sasha's done since she's been on the main roster. Because, like I said, she played it off really well. And everything was kind of making fans even believe that, she was going away and everything in that sense. So I thought the segment came off really, really well. So up next, I wanted to talk about the Seth Rollins-Chris Jericho match. Honestly, not much to really talk about here in the end, because I thought they did a pretty good match. The other aspect is that Seth Rollins is still using the pedigree, but now they're making it seem like he's going to send a message to Triple H each time he uses the pedigree and everything like that. I feel like that was a pretty good match from both sides here, and it came off rather well in the end. So this leads into the main event, which was Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn. And you know what? Like I said, I can watch these guys have matches for the rest of the time that I watch wrestling. I give grief and everything to some matches happening so many times. This is one of those matches like you feel like you can get something different from each one. And luckily, like with the Sheamus and Cesaro one as well, it's like I was worried about that one because we've seen the match so many times, but they seem to give you something different, especially in this Best of 7 series. They give you something different each time around, and we'll see how everything plays off in that. But they do this as well with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. You feel like you get something a little bit new each and every time. Sami Zayn plays a little bit of the ankle injury and makes it play off at the end. That's the reason why he couldn't go for the haluva kick. His ankle was still injured and everything in that sense, and he wasn't able to fully go after the haluva kick, and then gets powerbomb to lose the match. And there was one other really sick spot right on the outside. He does that exploder suplex, like that half Nelson exploder suplex outside of the ring on Kevin Owens. Looked really sick, and it's one of those moments like you kind of like, oh boy, I can't believe they went for that, but they did in that sense. So Sami Zayn is out losing via the powerbomb. At the end of the night, right after the match, Roman Reigns comes out. We haven't seen Roman Reigns, honestly. We haven't seen Rusev in 2 weeks either, but apparently they're doing something with Lana and Rusev in Bulgaria with their wedding again and everything in that sense. So they're playing off of that right now. But Roman Reigns comes out. Jericho eventually comes out to kind of even up the odds, and it looks like a 2-on-1 was going to go down, but Mick Foley comes out and says that and basically says that, you know what, Roman, you kind of deserve a chance too. And he makes a match between Roman and Kevin Owens. If Roman wins, it becomes a triple threat at the Clash. So it goes strictly from a 1-on-1 with Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens, or Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens, and has potential of being a triple threat now. At the end of the show, Roman Reigns spears Chris Jericho, and they go off the air that way. So, yeah, overall this week, you know, hard to say. Like I said, that beginning and end, I thoroughly enjoyed that beginning and end. It was that middle section. It's just like, kind of hard to watch this. Kind of hard to watch this in some ways. It wasn't going well. Crowd kind of died, with the exception of a couple spots. Like they went along with the whole New Day Rocks, the End Zone Cast stuff. They went along with all that, but in the terms of like quality, there it was kind of not so good in that sense. But overall, in the end, I can't really say I can give it a thumbs up or thumbs down. Unfortunately, it feels like it's in that middle section because you have that good beginning, which kind of what I would almost even deem as almost a great beginning to the show, and a really good end to the show with everything, with that Sasha segment and then the Kevin Owens Sami Zayn match and everything setting up for the next week as well. But everything else that happened in that middle section for like a good hour and a half, where that crowd just dies off. The Kansas City crowd just completely died off throughout that entire portion. Just kind of leaves you like, this Raw, it had a chance of being really good for 2 straight weeks, and it kind of ends out being in the end because of that. But yeah, overall, that's just how I felt about Raw this week. So yeah, that's pretty much all I've got to say for you guys. So that is my review for Monday Night Raw this week. I thank you guys for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.